What's up, everybody? This is the Outsiders Podcast with Jaboy Mean Dean, here to review Smackdown Live that just ended 3 minutes ago. But, of course, this will show later, so technically I'm a liar. Wanted to go ahead and start off by telling you guys that we are on YouTube. Naturally, you could see us here. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, Podbean.com, Podomatic.com, Spreaker.com, iTunes. Check us out. We're everywhere. Our exclusive content is likely to hit sometime this week or over the weekend or something like that in terms of Patreon. So make sure you go there. Please donate. It would be a huge help. Or make sure you check us out everywhere else because, like we keep saying, TOP is everywhere. Starting to gain some momentum. Had quite a bit of views on the Money in the Bank one. JG just put down his Raw one last night. We're rolling now, so keep up with TOP. Big things to come. Currently, right now, sitting in the TOP Lounge. Wanted to give a shout out to 1 Hour Tees, aka ProWrestlingTees.com. Actually wanted to say I ordered a Samoa Joe shirt from Extreme Wrestling T-shirts off Amazon. Turns out it didn't get delivered. And now I'm 3 weeks without the shirt and finally got an email saying I'm getting a refund. So I'm wearing a fucking Coca-Cola T-shirt in its place. I don't know, I just felt comfortable. I got my Macho Man one, I got my New Age Outlaws one, Stone Cold, whatever. I just kind of go with the flow. Who is ready to talk about Smackdown? It's a pretty interesting show. I don't know, man. I was excited. I was excited based off of the controversy that happened at Money in the Bank. You know, they started off with Daniel Bryan, the return of Daniel Bryan. It was Father's Day yesterday. Not yesterday, but the day before. Big return for Daniel Bryan. Congratulations to him, of course. Started with him addressing the women from the Miss Money in the Bank ladder match, with the exception of Carmella and that other girl, James Ellsworth. And he said he wanted to hear Carmella and James Ellsworth out, which, that's fair. No problem. So she goes out. And Ellsworth is trying to gain heat by telling everybody to get on their feet and, bow down to Carmella, Miss Money in the Bank. And I realized something once Carmella took the mic. Carmella doesn't need James Ellsworth. She cut a very interesting promo. And she looked like she knew what she was doing. She looked like she's been doing it for a long time. And, I mean, she was even shooting a little bit on the women. She had said something like, to Charlotte, like that's another thing that she ripped off from her father. And while everybody was looking to make history, she was looking towards the future. I really liked the promo. I really liked the way she cut it. And I really liked the timing of it. And let me clear something up. If anything, I am not hating on Carmella based on the finish of the match last Sunday. I'm hating on James Ellsworth because he is a character. He's not a wrestler. And he will always be a joke. And I just don't like running jokes. I don't. I don't like running jokes in wrestling because they get old fast. And James Ellsworth is getting old fast. But Carmella, she held her own out there. And part of me was like, I actually really like this. This is kind of cool. As much as I hated the finish, I really like it. So, she did her thing. She got some good heat. And then scattered throughout the show, you had the women approach Daniel Bryan. First was Charlotte. She was saying, of course, trying to power talk her way into the situation with Daniel Bryan. And then throughout, like I said, throughout the show, it was scattered in terms of who went and saw Daniel and who talked to them, and naturally so. I'm kind of liking that the whole thing was like this big uprise, and it wasn't deserved the way it ended and things like that. So that was really cool. First group that comes out, the New Day. I will tell you on every review going forward, and I will tell you on every podcast we record, that I am over the New Day. Sending them to I don't know why they sent them to SmackDown. I'm wondering if they sent it to SmackDown to help SmackDown or to hurt SmackDown. Or is it just one of those, yay, New Day's here, we can all wear dildos on our head that glow and change color, and our kids can look like douchebags. And Biggie's big splash starts with him basically teabagging the wrestler, which, whatever, I mean, all I do is hail about the Attitude Era, and that's a part of that, but it's part of his persona that I'm like, man, if Biggie just cut the shit and just was a badass, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a heel badass or a babyface badass, just a badass. WWE has been giving up on big men for quite some time, and I'm okay with a part of that, a la Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, these young guys coming up, and WWE realize that, as much as the haters and the naysayers of WWE, including myself, recognizes that they've been really promoting these small guys. But they've been phasing out big guys. Big Show's been phased out. That dude, I'm going to kind of go off topic for just a second here. I've been watching a lot of Attitude Era, and I've been watching a lot of Big Show when he first came to WWE. Of course, we know him very much from when he was the Giant or something stupid at WCW, but he was a big part of the roster in the transition, and it was Taker and Kane, Big Show and Kane, Big Show and Taker. It was these forces that you couldn't stop. You don't really see that anymore. One more example of WWE phasing out a big guy. There was a guy the name of Brodus Clay, who now is Tyrus in TNA, or he is not in TNA. I don't really watch TNA anymore. I stopped after Sting left, because AJ had already gone by that point, but they packaged Brodus to be this crazy badass. They gave him video packages they played on Raw, that this badass is coming to take over the WWE Universe. And what did he come out as? As a fucking dinosaur that dances. Another joke. No wonder he didn't stay. So Big E's going to constantly gyrate on people, and he's going to constantly be an idiot. What's going to happen now? He can't be the badass we want him to be. He could turn, and I would certainly enjoy that. And not only Big E, but something I've been talking to JG about for some time, and he's really made me understand the importance of minority champions. Ron Simmons, a.k.a. Farouk, a.k.a. Damn, was the first ever black WCW champion. You have Jinder Mahal, which is the world champion. It's a start. Why is R-Truth's talent not enough for him to get in the picture unless he's a joke or crazy or whatever to fight John Cena? Why can't Big E be a badass and beat the world champion on Raw, or sorry, the Universal champion. Why can't Apollo Crews turn heel and start whooping ass like Lashley? With more talent than Lashley, mind you, and become the world champion. Something to chew on for those outsiders out there. JG's really made me think about that, and we've been going through quite some time of no minority world champions, and Samoan doesn't count. They're part of the Illuminati bloodline in wrestling, so if you don't understand what I'm talking about, please go to Podomatic.com or clickpod.podomatic.com. Go to our very first episode of TOP in February and listen to that. And that's where we talk about the Samoan bloodline and Illuminati in WWE, namely Roman Reigns. So enjoy that. I digress. Back on track. New Day is played out. Make Big E a badass. Get Kofi and Xavier to fight each other for a title. I don't care if it's a U.S. title. I don't care if it's 205. I really don't care. For something. But I'm tired of the gimmick. I don't know. Like I said, it's a running joke and it's getting old. It's like somebody telling you the same joke that you've heard over and over to somebody else right next to you at work. We're like, hey, Sherry, have you heard that joke? And you're hearing it again and again and again. You're just like, okay, that's great. And then guess what? That guy's the asshole for being fucking weird to everybody. And then all of a sudden you're the asshole and you feel bad. What am I doing now? Okay. Back to the show. New Day played out. I'll say it every single time on Smackdown Review. They made fun of the Usos. They promoted the Usos, whatever you want to call it. I just spit on my monitor a little bit. Got it. They promoted the Usos. Jimmy came out. Well, the Usos came out. Jimmy and Big E fought. Honestly, there's no benefit to the match. One thing I did notice, though, which is fucked up. I didn't realize, and maybe I'm a little behind, but I did not realize that they were running during matches and the commercial comes on. They're still running the match in a little box, but there's no commentary. You're hearing the commercials on a side-by-side, and the commercials are in a bigger box. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, the first thought that came to my mind was, I don't want to sit through more of this match. I want there to be a mental break in what I'm watching. So you showing the match with no commentary was a little bit better, but I really didn't care. I still fast forwarded through the commercial. Now I have to watch SmackDown. Now I'm reviewing SmackDown, reviewing pay-per-views, JG's reviewing Raw, and we have to watch it now. Sometimes it sucks, because honestly, I was watching almost every Raw and SmackDown, with the exception of SmackDown, because SmackDown has been the better show, but it's sometimes hard to watch for us older wrestling fans, or entertainment fans, and I like to fast forward. I watch probably 30 minutes of Raw on a fast forward and about an hour of SmackDown or more. And then wonder why I should go to 2 hours. Put the good shit on there. Get rid of the bad shit. I digress again. Jimmy Uso versus Big E. Big E won the match. Big ending. Rated it a 3 out of 10. There were a lot of matches that were 4s or 5s in Money in the Bank, so you have to figure the matches that aren't being promoted for pay-per-view are going to be less. I think that's fair. unless something blows me out of the water. Again, Natalya approached Bryan. She's kissing his ass. Tamina tells her to shut up, and Daniel Bryan should do the right thing about Miss Money in the Bank, so we continue that story, which is fine. That's a part of it. I get it. We have to get through it. That's fine. John Cena's promotion as the free agent shows up. Who gives a shit? Honestly, who gives a shit? If John Cena came back and fought AJ Styles, I would watch it. If John Cena came back and fought Randy Orton, I'd watch it. So stop promoting a guy who has tied the record for the most championships in wrestling history. I don't need to see John Cena promoted. The return of John Cena next week or 2 weeks. That's all I need to see. Oh, John Cena's coming back. I don't need to see a little snippet of every little thing he's done outside of wrestling. Because quite frankly, I don't give a shit. TOP is here for wrestling. Not Good Morning America. Not movies. Although, I did come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum, ladies and gentlemen. On to the next match. Before I get to that, Naomi showed up, actually. Talked to Daniel Bryan. Well, not Daniel Bryan, but talked to one of the announcers. Asked how she felt about it. She was doing her swag thing. Lana came out, tried some weak-ass insult. And then she walked off with a rematch next week. She came in this way. She sat next to Naomi, said something to the effect of, "You weren't ravishing," or something like that, or whatever, and says, "I want a rematch." And Naomi says, "Sure." What did she earn? What did Lana earn in that match? If you go back to my video, which is actually doing quite well right now, my Money in the Bank review, Lana didn't earn shit, and there was no point in her being in that match because she lost anyway. Go to the network. Watch it. So I guess we'll be seeing a rematch next week. And you will get my take on it next week. I am predicting, I believe, I don't remember what I rated the match. Actually, I have my notes right here. I rated Sunday's Women Championship match a 4. I am predicting next Saturday or next Tuesday on Smackdown, I am going to be rating that a 2. The only thing that would save it and bring it up to an 8 or 9 is if Rusev comes out and does his Machka kick on fucking Naomi, which would be insane. That won't happen, but that's what would save it. That's the only thing that could save it right now. So Naomi talking to blah blah blah, she does this, Lana has a rematch all of a sudden. Then you move into, literally my notes say, getting Naomi's take on Miss Money in the Bank, Lana arrives and poorly insults her and wants her rematch. Naomi gives it to her next week. In quotations, I don't know if you can see it there, whatever. Let's put that right there. Phillips interviews Randy Orton. He basically says he beat himself. WWE beat you, bro. You didn't beat yourself. But guess what? Oh, we got another like on Facebook for our page, The Outsiders Podcast. Go check it out. WWE beat you, Randy. The script beat you. Creative beat you. And you're going to get your rematch. A third one. I'm predicting ranking that even lower. Because if I have to sit through another Backlash match, another Money in the Bank match, I will seriously consider taking a break from SmackDown, switching with JG. I get the rematch, but give me something new. Something exciting, maybe. That would be great. I would like to watch something exciting, WWE. Show that to me. That'd be great. That's why I watch it. To get excited, to get pumped up. Not to watch the same shit over and over. Second match, Ziggler Nakamura. One thing I did note in my notes prior to that match starting, when the entrances were going on, was that I was hoping it was better than the Backlash match. I thought that created a lot of buzz and hype, and that Backlash match was not very good, living up to the hype of Ziggler and Nakamura. And that's just my opinion. Other people may feel differently, and that's fine, but I would have rated it a 6, maybe. It just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Then again, so I'm thinking, I literally in my notes I put, hoping this is better than Backlash. My second note is Ziggler literally looks like HBK. Quote, he should play 2K18. Be like no one. End quote. I believe, Mr. Ziggler, you have been served. Another thing, and I am no mathematician, but I believe 40 to 50% of that match was holds. Headlocks, submissions, holds. Nakamura is a man of action. Kicks, punches, very decisive. And those holds are only important when he can catch the opponent in a position where he can put it on them unexpectedly. And it was just holds. Something is up with Nakamura. I feel like they're not promoting him the way he should be promoted for a reason. I want to give WWE the credit in this situation and say that they might have something bigger in the works for them, hence keeping him out of Money in the Bank for 30 minutes and only being there at his entrance and at the end. So who knows? I'd like to see what it is, but rated the match a 4. Less than Backlash. I really didn't enjoy any of it. I put the finger rake stopped the 10th hold of the match. Woo! This is wrestling. Rated it a 4. Then you had Daniel Bryan talking to Sami Zayn in the back. Becky Lynch approaches. Daniel Bryan books Corbin and Zayn for whatever reason, other than a small rivalry, for next week's SmackDown. Becky's plea to Daniel Bryan was a lot better than the rest of them in terms of the women's ladder match. But it was almost kind of whiny. It was a very babyface whiny type of situation where she's like, well, I know there are going to be people who are going to cut in line and do shortcuts and this and that. And I'm prepared for it, but it keeps happening. And it sounded very kind of whiny, but it felt very heartfelt. You know, Becky, it's hard for her to do anything that's not heartfelt. So, I thought that was okay. Then we had the US KO Open Challenge for the US title. And as soon as he asked for somebody to come out and AJ Styles had arrived, I was like, holy shit. One of two things. One, I'm really excited because I want to see this match. Two, they should be booking this for pay-per-view. And just one comment on that, one note there. Chris Jericho used to say something about TNA back when TNA was really good. Or starting to get to that point where it was starting to downfall. It was about 2009, 2010. And Chris Jericho said, who does the booking at TNA? Because basically they're taking all these monstrous matches and they're booking them for their normal Impact tapings instead of making people pay for the pay-per-view to see those big matches. WWE has famously done that for the past, would you say, 7 to 10 years now? I don't want to see AJ and KO on Smackdown. I want to see them on a bigger stage where the stakes are higher. At the same time, who am I to complain? I'd be happy to see them fight. That's just my opinion. But, of course, KO and his shenanigans said it has to be a Dayton, Ohio resident. Enter Chad Gable, which I was like, oh, pretty cool. Chad got the best of him at the start of the match, so no AJ KO, but someday, hopefully, not on pay-per-view, not on Smackdown Live, as the millennials so affectionately call it. It is Smackdown, after all. And after Gable's little cute run, it was KO all the way, as it was meant to be. I gave the match a 6. I thought that was the best match on the card tonight. And it was the one that was unpredicted or scripted, but not known by the fans. So, what are you going to do? You know, I thought it was pretty good. I thought they were definitely hanging in there, really played off each other. So, that's about it for that. Hype Bros make their tag team title opinions known that they want to go for it. They were number one contenders. Zack Ryder injured himself. It all lasted all about 30 seconds. They got their title shot as long as they beat the Usos. Magic. Sorcery. Whatever. I am not a big Hype Bros fan, and for those of you out there that are, I'm happy for you. I just could care less. So, nope, not clobbering time yet. There's another promo in there for Sonic who's sponsoring them. It was Sami Zayn, Ty Dillinger. Again, thank you for showing me that Sonic sells shakes. My fat ass could use another one of those. Daniel Bryan finally comes out to address the crowd about Money in the Bank, and I'm looking at the clock very specifically at this point because I want to see if this closes the show. He brings all the women out from the back, including Carmella and James Ellsworth. I almost want to say Carmelo Anthony. I don't know why. I feel like he wouldn't do so well in a women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Somebody tweet that out. Mean Dean from TOP says Carmelo Anthony cannot hang with the women at Money in the Bank. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have a super fight like McGregor and Mayweather. Who knows? Bryan has all the women come out. Ellsworth and Carmella. He talks about how Carmella has a good point. That there are no rules. That she won it fair and square. And then James Ellsworth runs his mouth about Daniel Bryan's kid, which, to me, I was like, damn, like, that little short piece of shit has balls to go after Daniel Bryan's kid, newly born kid. And then Daniel Bryan threatened to punch him and fire him, so I was like, yeah, I would love to see that. That would be a 7 on the rating of 1 to 10 for me at that point. The women kind of get at each other on the mic. It's kind of weak. Tamina. They're kind of going back, and Charlotte says something like, if you don't stop talking, you're going to sound like James Ellsworth. And then Tamina goes to Charlotte, if you don't stop talking, you're going to be like James, or something stupid. And it got real quiet. Super awkward. It was really funny, though. So, Brian's giving the update. He's kind of going through it. He gets in, talks about history and how it was a historical night. And then he mentions that it's also a historical moment for Carmella to give up the briefcase the first time ever. So he did end up taking the briefcase away from her, rebooking the match for next week. And then the women start fighting, and Charlotte and Becky both put out Carmella. Now, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit and come right back to this. Jinder Mahal versus Luke Harper shortly after that. I watched literally every second of it. Remembered about, I don't know, maybe a minute of it. Wasn't interesting. It was kind of hard hitting. Bolly Boys were there, whatever. Singh brothers. Baron came out for the distraction with his briefcase. Jinder still won, so there's no point. Same thing as last night. Or Money in the Bank. And then Randy Orton comes out and whoops some ass. So there's his rematch. Going back to the end of the promo with Daniel Bryan and the women regarding the rematch for next week. I really, really, really wish that would have been the end of the show. And here's why. Because, as I've been saying a million times over, I am big right now into the Attitude Era. Every show ends on a cliffhanger, and almost every Raw literally has an extra portion that none of the fans were able to see until the network. So there's a whole extra portion on top of that. Plus there's Sunday Night Heat to tie in the storyline. Plus, at that time, I'm right at the point where they're just about to start Smackdown. Smackdown, yes. And there's a cliffhanger. You wanted to go into next week ready for that match, ready to see what happens next on the story. I really feel that if the women would have got at each other and just started this 5-women brawl right in the middle of the ring to end the show to fade out, there would have been much more built up for that match next week. And then to put it as the main event next week would allow us another 2 hours or hour and a half to wait for the match when that's what we want to see. That, my friends, is selling TV time. That is a storyline. That keeps your fans coming back. And that is what WWE lacks. WWE lacks what they used to do a long time ago. Shit, 20 years ago. Ugh, sound old. 20 years ago. They used to let the show go out on cliffhangers and it was unfinished and you had to tune back in to be like, wait a minute, what? Like, I want to see next week to see what happened. That was the point. So, I'm off my old man kick about my wrestling fandom and why I think it should be this way, but I ultimately gave the show a 6 out of 10. It wasn't terrible. I think the women's Money in the Bank storyline really helped piece things together during the show, and the matches were more mental breaks on the story. So it was linear, which it was supposed to be, but it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't great. I'm actually looking forward to next Tuesday. See how that match goes again. I hope they really raise the bar for Money in the Bank, but at the same time, I hope they don't take away from the importance of what that first match was. So, anyway, that is my review for SmackDown, June 20th, 2017. For the Outsiders Podcast, I'm Mean Dean. In the famous words of JG, put a hole in that ass.